It's nice to see you again, Gary.
Thank you so much. It's nice to be on.
Of course, to anyone who doesn't know his work, former Environment Minister in Alberta, also Alberta's provincial representative to Asia from 2011 to 2015. So you know the landscape of the demand for oil in Asian markets coming from Alberta. Do you think this pipeline is going to happen?
I think that the MOU that was signed today was really significant. It is an essential part, although by itself not a complete set of conditions to make sure that there's a pipeline that'll be built. So two of the major barriers to getting a pipeline built and having a private sector proponent, which will be essential, were the tanker ban legislation and the emissions cap. Those two are dealt with in the MOU. The Prime Minister is speaking as we speak, talking about the MOU and what it means in terms of economic prosperity and a new phase of collaborative, cooperative federalism, which is a very different manner in which federalism was expressed in the last 10 years. So here at the Convention Center, there's a sold-out crowd of 1,300 people who gave the Prime Minister a standing ovation. This hasn't happened in recent years with Liberal Prime Ministers.
Do you think in that crowd is a Suncor or a Syncrude or somebody who's going to pick up the bill for this pipeline?
It's too early to tell just yet. I think that the Alberta government has put together a group of people who are pipeline experts to look at the viability of such a pipeline. I think that if it's demonstrated that it makes sense, then there will be a private proponent that will come up. But you've heard the Prime Minister talk about the desire to increase our exports to markets other than the United States. The Prime Minister today talked about how, the tariffs are having a significant impact on our GDP, but that the intention of building $1 trillion worth of infrastructure over the next 5 years, which includes pipeline infrastructure and export infrastructure, will more than offset that. And so, infrastructure of all sorts, whether it's pipelines, roads, rails. I mean, we have a lot of what the world wants, but if you can't move it, you can't sell it. And if you can't sell it, you're not building your economy. I think that's a clear message that the Prime Minister had for us today.
Okay, if I can ask you to put on your former Minister of the Environment hat for a second. The Coastal First Nations, as we heard just moments ago, put out a statement saying that we will never tolerate any exemptions or carve-outs to the tanker ban. They say it's not up for a negotiation. They don't want to see this pipeline built. And if the Prime Minister is saying that they want partnership from First Nations, they want ownership from First Nations, and they're saying they're not going to get at the table, how do you get past that position?
Well, here in Calgary, at another venue in Northeast Calgary, the Indian Resources Council is meeting. They've had a 2-day conference. There are many, many First Nations groups that are quite interested in participating, full equity participation in energy projects. And so if one group says that they're not interested, there are others who will be interested. And keep in mind that, the legislation, Bill C-48, the Oil Tanker Moratorium Act, is a federal piece of legislation. It's not necessary to actually repeal the act, but what you could do is build a channel through that act, those waters, that would be the safest channel possible. And you can mitigate the environmental issues. This is not the 1980s. Oil tankers now have double hulls. The number of spillages have been reduced by more than 90%. You've got navigation ability that is far greater than it was 50 years ago. So you can mitigate the environmental impact and a possible spill, because if you are working through a narrow channel, you can devote all of your resources for responding to a spill in a relatively small area, not across a huge swath of the ocean.
And are you satisfied that the demand from Asian markets is going to be persistent, will sustain itself through the next 10, 20 years?
I think that throughout the world, there is an increasing demand for energy, and it's to do things like AI data centers and whatnot. And so I think that the demand for oil is going to continue to be high. The issue will be whether or not there will be greater supply that comes on stream in the years to come. It depends on a lot of factors. It depends, for example, on whether Russian oil, which is sanctioned, comes back onto the market. But that there is quite a great deal of interest in oil and gas in Asian markets, I think is quite clear. I spoke just the other day with the ambassador from the Philippines. He made it quite clear that they are interested in hydrocarbons in the years to come.
All right, Gary Marr, former Minister of the Environment of Alberta. Nice to see you today. Thank you for your insights.
Thanks for having me here.